I did want to follow up one thing on the Phillies real quick, because the Phillies, obviously, they get that sweep. Nationals coming in this weekend. But I think we need to talk more about Rob Thomson, because I think Rob Thomson, for the amount of heat that he takes sometimes, I think he's done a phenomenal job this year. I think not just from the X's and O's perspective, but managing personalities. I mean, people love to point out mistakes, even when they're not really mistakes. Like the Joan Duran criticism last Friday night was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like, you're putting a guy in a 4-run game. He hasn't pitched in a week. It's for the health of the player that you are pitching him there. Like, it would be worse for his health if you did not throw him. He needs to get in games. And you look at the outfield situation. Right now, the Phillies I've kind of moved to a full platoon outfield where they got 4 guys for 3 spots, essentially, with Max Kepler, Harrison Bader, Nick Castellanos, Brandon Marsh, and it feels like he's pushing all the right buttons. And I look at it, Hugh, and I know it's going to be tough for him to win it because Murphy, the Brewers manager, they're at 80 wins. They have been a great team this year. I think Rob Thomson needs Manager of the Year consideration. I think he's been that good this year.
Yeah, I hear you, because you talk about the buttons that he's pushed and the team that he was given. You know, a lot of us, when the season started, we were a little bit upset because Bohm was the guy that was on the trade block. That didn't happen. He's still here. And they struggled at times. And he's still one of those managers that still gets scrutinized heavily for some of the things that he's done. But I think overall, with the team that he's been given, he's done a good job. But I will say this as well. It says something about an organization that stood pat after you saw the way that the postseason went last year and still ran it back. So the guys are starting to live up to the expectations that was put on them from the management from the beginning. So that's the thing. They just have to keep it going, man. It feels to me like this year it's now or never. Because if it doesn't get done this year, it feels like a lot of things are going to change, and Topper might be a part of that.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I think Topper's done a phenomenal job, though, and I think the biggest thing is you look at that outfield rotation situation, and the way he's gotten all these guys to buy in, because, hey, it's a competitive business. I mean, guys want to play. We know that, and Max Kepler kind of talked about that earlier this year, but here's Max Kepler the other night. This was after the game with Scott and Larry in the postgame interview, just talking about his kind of mental approach to this new platoon situation.
You've obviously been swinging the bat much better. Even the outs are look better.
Thank you.
But yet you're in this rotation with kind of 4 guys for 3 spots. How are you guys all handling this?
You know, you kind of just have to be unselfish about the whole thing and believe in that collective that I spoke about a couple weeks back, and see the big picture. You know, a lot of times in this game, you're told to be selfish in a positive way, and to protect your career, you want to be on the field, right? But in this case, we want to win the World Series. So whatever is needed from one of us, we go out there, and everyone seems to have a positive energy, even if they're not playing. You know, so that also helps from the dugout.
And I think that comes from the manager, because it's not, if you don't have relationships with players and stuff, like, it's harder to get them to buy into that situation. But I do think that, when you hear that kind of a comment from Max Kepler, as far as everybody buying into it, I think that speaks to the job and the personal touch that Rob Thomson has with these guys.
Yeah, man, it's about relationships and trying to cultivate them and getting everybody to roll in the same direction. The way that Big Red talked to me about certain things, he didn't talk to Ike about the same way. He talked to him differently, and that's what you have to do. You have to try to get everybody to row in the same direction, and you have to know what buttons to push to make that happen. Now, we had an example a couple of days ago of Nick Castellanos, and him and Topper got into a little bit of a tete-a-tete, and then we had him talking about his role on this team and being two platoon and everything like that. You have to figure out how to cool people out and get them to believe in what you're trying to do. And I think that's what Topper has done.
Yeah, and I think he's done a great job of it, and I think that's obviously the clubhouse part of it. But as far as the X's and O's on the field, too, I think he's had a really good feel as far as managing this bullpen this season, managing through even when they were a little thin earlier on in the year. Obviously, Duran has done a good job of kind of letting everything fall into place a little more. He's put David Robertson in some really good spots, and I just think Rob Thomson deserves Manager of the Year consideration. I want to know how you feel. 215-592-9494. Do you think Rob Thomson deserves to be considered for Manager of the Year? I do. I mean, Pat Murphy's probably going to win it, considering how good the Brewers are. Now, they've struggled a little more recently, but I think Topper deserves some more consideration. I think he's done a phenomenal job with this team this year. And, I mean, he did a great job in 2022 when they got off that bad start. He took over as manager. I think this year has rivaled it. I think he's been that good as far as managing this team. And with Rob Thomson, I think the thing about him, too, that is so impressive is, because we talk about analytics in the game now, and whether it's an analytics manager or non-analytics manager, I think Rob's a little bit of both. I mean, he certainly looks at the numbers, but the other day in the 7th inning against the Mariners, it's a 3-2 game. Phillies only up 1 run, much different than it ended out, but going up against a left-handed reliever, Brandon Marsh, Max Kepler, Bryson Stott, he lets all those guys hit instead of going to his bench. I don't think the analytics probably would have supported that move. But it's that's where you got to have a feel as a manager, and that worked out. The Phillies break the game open and win that game easily.
And I tell you what, it's something to be said about somebody that believes in you when other people don't. It's one of those things where, maybe I don't know what the players do, and maybe they listen to the station and they hear what people are saying about them. And for Topper to go out there, and the fans might be yelling at him, but for Topper to go out there and show faith in them in certain situations, that's big. But here's the trade-off in situations like that. You got to pay him back. And you got to pay him back by going out there and being productive, especially if he's believing in you. And I think that they've wrapped their mind around that, and that's what they're trying to do.